guys, welcome back to Adapted Adventures. I'm Casey, and on this channel we talk about wheelchair equipment, accessible travel, and lifestyle tips. If those are things that you think might be interesting to you, consider subscribing. On this week's video, we're going to talk about my least favorite thing about traveling when we fly, and that's transferring from my wheelchair and getting onto the airplane. So I'm going to talk about the process, and then we'll go from there. So I am a manual wheelchair user, and I can self-propel on my own. And normally when I travel, I usually travel with like a backpack and more often than not, some sort of other adaptive equipment. So whether that be my freewheel, or maybe my smart drive now that I have that, or if we're on like a different type of vacation, I might bring my beach wheels or a second set of wheels of some sort. So all of those things are things that I will bring all the way to the gate with me. So we get to the airport. We'll check our bags if we have checked bags at the ticket counter, but my chair stays with me, any extra wheel stays with me, and then the freewheel or the smart drive will stay with me as well. When we do check in at the ticket counter, even though most of the time when I book my tickets, I do put in there like a comment that I need some sort of assistance, but sometimes that form is very like formy and like you can't put specifics in there. So I always talk to the ticket counter agent lady or woman, man, and just be very specific about what I need and what I don't need. Some of you, depending on your ability or how you travel, may decide at that point that you would like to transfer to one of their airport chairs and whatnot and leave maybe your power chair or something with them to take care of from there. But I stay in my chair all the way to the gate. So I do tell them that. I tell them I will be needing an aisle chair, and so that they're already aware of that so that we can recap that and they get the heads up, because sometimes there's, if it didn't get well communicated in my online reservation or something like that, they can get as prepared as possible for the time when it's time to board. So we go through security, then without my check bag, but still with my wheelchair, and then we get to the ticket counter, or not the ticket counter, excuse me, the gate. I will check in there again, and at that point, if they didn't, very rarely, but if they didn't give me a gate check tag for all my equipment that I'm going to be gate checking, I will make sure I check in with the gate agent and get a gate check tag for my manual wheelchair and anything else that's being gate checked that I will not be bringing on the plane with me or keeping on my person. So that's usually the extra wheels and the manual chair. The freewheel and the smart drive stay with me. I bring them in and we put them in the overhead. But it's really important to get that gate check tag because it keeps it trackable. Two, it puts your name on it so that they don't get it confused with somebody else's chair. And like, God forbid if they would misplace it or something, they can usually track it down and tell you where it's at and when it's going to be at your destination. I have had the unfortunate circumstances where that has happened before, but we can get into that a little bit deeper later in the video. So then all my stuff that I have, my backpack and my equipment with me, comes down the jet bridge when it's time to board the plane. And if you've traveled before, you probably know this, but a lot of times people who need the extra assistance, they usually always board first unless you are late for your plane, which I've done that before too. But anyways, so normal circumstances, they will board me first. We go down the jet bridge, and then the people who are going to be helping me get into the aisle chair and onto the plane meet me there at the end of the jet bridge. Sometimes they meet me up at the gate, and they can be really helpful with carrying, especially if I'm traveling by myself without Andrea, they can help me carry my backpack or other equipment that I have with me. Be communicative and empathetic with these people. They're very, very busy, and they don't know you from the next person they're going to help you with. So be communicative of what you need and what you don't need, and it will go very smoothly. So we get down to the end of the jet bridge. I transfer from my manual chair into the aisle chair, and then they load me in they'll carry me, or not carry me, but they'll roll me to the plane. So they strap me all in. There's a number of straps they'll put on you to keep you safe while they get you from the jet bridge onto your or get you onto the plane to your seat on the plane. So they do strap you in, and that's just, again, it goes back to they're helping many different people with many different levels of ability, so they need to make sure that you're protected, so they will put a number of different straps, shoulder straps, seat belts on you, and everything like that. Then they usually back me into the plane, so we go back first, and more often than not, there's two people at least that help you on, so they kind of like pick you up at the edge between the jet bridge and the aircraft door, and then go backwards to your airline or your aircraft seat. At that point, then I can transfer into my seat, and then if I'm again by myself, they can help me put what I want in the overhead, what I want to keep down on like available to myself down by my seat and whatnot, and then they go on their way. So then when I get to my destination, the process is almost the exact opposite. Under normal circumstances, they are probably going to actually take me off the plane last. So I wait for everybody else to deboard, and then the aisle chair people come on. We transfer into the aisle chair. Again, all the straps come on. Be communicative with them again about, hey, I need you to help me carry this. This is mine. Can you just set it by my chair outside in the jet bridge? And then they usually go feet first down the aisle. And then depending on the circumstances, if it's two people, sometimes they'll still take you out feet first. Sometimes they'll use the front galley, like by the cockpit door, to spin you around and go out backwards. And it just kind of depends on, I think, probably some protocol for the different companies that do it, or if they have two people, if they have one person, and that kind of thing. They are truly trying to keep you safe and get you all on and off the plane as efficiently as possible, because it is the best. That's the best experience for all of us to keep us safe, and they want to be as efficient as possible too, because we're busy and they're trying to stay on schedule. So that's the main gist of the process of how I get on and off the plane. So now I just want to talk about kind of like the two main different types of aisle chairs that I've experienced with my travels. The ones here at Minneapolis, where we fly out of very often, are not my favorite, and I'll kind of explain why. So the ones here at Minneapolis are very skinny, and they're pretty short, like front to back as well, and like very up like upright, and they kind of keep your back very straight. These are hard for me to get my feet on the foot plate that they want you to put the feet on, or your feet on, because the foot plate is very short compared to and the angle is very sharp from the seat that you sit on to the foot plate. And a lot of times I can and it's skinny, so I try to pull my feet back on there, but because it's such an angle to get my feet back, a lot of times by the time we get to the aircraft door, sometimes my feet are falling off. And admittedly, for as many straps as they put on, because it's a shoulder strap and a shoulder strap, and then a seat belt and a leg strap, I've never seen one where there's a foot strap, which I find kind of weird. But anyway, so I don't really like the ones here at Minneapolis because they're just hard for me to get on, and I'm a big guy too, and they're very little, which I understand they need to be in order to get you down all the aisle chairs. But I have experienced a different type at some airports outside the country, and also I think like usually Houston has these ones that are slightly wider. They still fit down an aisle, but like the way you put your feet on is definitely more, that angle from the cushion or from the seat that you sit on to where your feet are is considerably more out in front of you, and the way that it's shaped, in my opinion, keeps my feet more secure and makes me less nervous, because especially when we're getting me off the plane, if they're going feet first and my feet come off the foot plate, then they get stuck on the ground and they can get caught, and I don't want to, I've never done it, but I would never want to inadvertently break an ankle or something like that. So I do prefer when we're able to use the other type, and whenever we get to an airport that at our destination and I see them come on the plane with one of those, it always kind of gives me a little bit of a breath of freshness or of relief that, hey, this is going to be a smoother process. So those are kind of the two. And again, it's a personal preference. But I don't like the ones here at Minneapolis, but the other ones are, in my opinion, a lot easier to transfer and just deal with in general. So now is kind of a good segue onto telling you why it is the least favorite part of my travel experience whenever we fly. And there's a number of different reasons. Admittedly, for anybody, giving up your independence and putting your safety and well-being in someone else's hands can be a little unnerving. And you truly kind of are doing that with these people. And they have your best interests in mind, but it can be a little unnerving, and I've had, unfortunately, some bad experiences with my wheelchair. I'm leaving my wheelchair at this point, and I'm trusting them to make sure that it gets to my destination and doesn't get broken. And I've had the experience where my chair got left behind at my departure, and now it's not with me when I got to my arrival city. And so now I'm making I'm doing all this, making sure that I have all the things that I wanted to bring on the plane. I'm like kind of worried that to make sure they don't forget anything that needs to go on the plane that's not with me. And then there's the safety thing. Like I told you, if it's one of those chairs where my feet don't fit the best, I'm thinking about, I don't want to like my foot to fall. I don't want this to happen. So there's a lot going on in my mind, and it just kind of like, you just want it to be done and get it over with. So, so that you can get comfortable, getting off the plane. Sometimes Andrea and I, because they take you off last, there's always the concern of like, if we have a short connection, like are the not gate agents, but are like the people who take you, the aisle chair people, are they going to get there on time? Did they get delayed somewhere else? Are we going to be able to make our connection now? And that type of thing. And sometimes you get in on that super like crappy late night red eye, and like you just want to go home, and you got to wait for everybody to get off the plane. Then you got to wait for them to show up. Then you got to do all the transferring and the, all those straps, and the strapping thing is annoying. I will give you that. Like, I find it super ironic that like they're about to put me in an airplane that's doing 700 miles an hour, and I get this tiny little piece of like canvas that's going to keep me safe. But to get me the 15 feet from my chair to my aircraft seat, we go shoulder strap, seat belt, leg strap, and I understand that what they need to do is there's a purpose for that, because they have liability, and they need to kind of make sure they cover their bases for all abilities, because they're, if you don't have the upper body or like the torso, or like the core that I have, you might need all those straps to keep you safe. I get that. But like, it's still kind of annoying when I'm just like, we could be saving so much time. Like, just let me hang on to the straps and we'll go. So like, those are kind of all the things that definitely give me, like, make it not the favorite, my most favorite part of traveling. But we get through it, and there have been things that I've learned over my travels that are in my control that I can do to make the process as smooth as possible, and to calm, like, I don't get anxious about it, so to speak, but like to reduce the amount of stress that it causes. So a couple of tips, as I think that are good reminders, or not reminders, but good tips to help you maybe when you're traveling for the first time, or any time for that matter, is first and foremost, like, the process when you're getting on. There are a couple things that I always make sure if my chair is being gate checked, that when I transfer, I make sure come with me. And that's my seat cushion first and foremost, because my seat cushion is not like hard and fastened to my chair. So there's a good chance that if they would take it, they don't always know when a gate or a baggage handler picks that chair up. They don't know that like the seat could fall off, and you don't know if it's going to get put in upside down in the aircraft cargo area or whatever. So pull anything that's not like hard fastened to your chair. So seat cushions, if you have removable side guards, pull your side guards. I have like a little pouch on the front of my chair that I put my wallet in. So I make sure I pull my wallet on that, even though it's zippered shut. One, like, I just would want to make sure I have my money with me. And two, you just don't know if it could slip out and end up in the cargo bay, and then you never see it again. So pull that kind of stuff. The other big thing is be communicative. I have a lot of empathy for these guys who are doing the aisle chair stuff, because they are dealing with a wide array of people with different abilities and disabilities, and they can't know what your abilities and what you need or don't need unless you communicate with them. And they truly do have your best interest in mind. They want you to be safe. They want you to be on time. But they have a lot going on, and again, they're every time they come to help you, they're experiencing something new. So be communicative with them of like, like if I'm traveling by myself and I need them to help me carry my backpack or the freewheel, like I need, you got to tell them, hey, I need you to help me carry this. This is what I need. This is where I need it. This can go in the overhead. This I need in my seat. And like sometimes I understand like the strap thing, but like what I was just complaining about before. But if I communicate with them, hey, like guys, I can put these straps on myself. Help me with the leg one. We can get moving faster. Like I'll put these two on. You put those on. And we can get on our way. So like it still gets done what they need to do. You get to be more efficient, and we get to move on with the rest of our days. And then two, they can find the best way to help you as well. So another tip, like I talked about before, getting my gate check tag for my manual chair or any kind of other equipment that's going to be gate checked that's not coming on board the aircraft with me. and kind of just to revert back a little bit, I do that because there has been times where I have ticket counter checked baggage, or not baggage, but equipment, and admittedly, just I haven't had great experience sometimes. I feel like sometimes the longer that the equipment, whether that's my manual chair or an extra pair of wheels, the longer that's in the airline's possession, the more chance it has of getting broken, left behind, or something like that. And that's not necessarily any like specific fault to the airline, but like it has to go through a lot to get from the ticket counter down to your airplane. But if you can keep that in your possession, and then the only thing it has to do is get from the jet bridge under the airplane and then under the airplane to the jet bridge at your destination, there's just a lot less chance of anything going wrong or something getting broken. So it cuts out a lot of the quote middlemen from the ticket counter to your plane, and you can have that peace of mind that you have your equipment with you. Because I know for most of us, like when we want and need our equipment with us because it's our legs, it's our way of getting around, and being able to be in possession and responsible for that just kind of gives us all more warm and fuzzies, as opposed to having someone else, no matter who that someone else is, being responsible for your stuff. So yeah, not ticket counter checking vital equipment as much as possible is a big thing for me. So I hope you found me explaining the process on how I get it off the plane kind of informational and maybe intriguing or interesting. If you have, and maybe some of the tips may be helpful for you when the next time you're traveling in a wheelchair on an airplane. If you guys have stories or tips or tricks for when you travel and dealing with the aisle chair and all that kind of stuff, I'd love to hear about it. Drop something down in the comments and let me know. And consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications for our next video. And we'll see you on the next Adapted Adventures.